These are the basics of doing lettering. Here is a Santa Fe Superfleet GP60B. Basically, to start doing lettering, you make your measurements. I'm going to practice on this card to write out the word Santa Fe. What I would first do is I would make my guidelines. I will measure down 1/2 inch from the top in 3 places. Here's a 1/2 inch over here, a 1/2 inch over here, and a 1/2 inch over here. I connect these 3 dots. Now, the word Santa Fe on this GP60B is about 1 inch high. And an important thing is to get a grasp. As we can measure this, this is 3/4 of an inch. But if you're looking at photographs, you won't be able to have that convenience. So it is 3/4 of an inch, but so that you can see it, I'll make it 1 inch high. And once again, it's important to measure your lettering in quite a few places, because actually one of the most important parts of drawing is to have your lettering be straight. Because if lettering goes at angles, then the naked eye will see that the lettering is at a slant, and paint shops tend to not put lettering at a slant. Now what I'll do is the capital letters in Santa Fe will be the whole height of this, and the lowercase letters will be about 2/3 of that height. So right at about 20-30 seconds, I will put another guideline in 3 places. And there we go. Now, these letters, the S and the F in Santa Fe, because they're capital, are 3/4 of an inch, roughly, when I look. And there's a little bit of space between each letter. So that little bit of space is about 1/8 of an inch. And then each letter is about 1/2 inch, the lowercase ones. So there's a 1/2 inch for the A, and then the space, and in a space. And if you notice, the lowercase t is very skinny in Santa Fe. It's not the same size as the rest of them. So that will only be maybe 1/4 to a little bit more than 1/4 of an inch. That's very important to notice those kinds of things, because the real Santa Fe lettering has a specific look to it. And if you had made it the same size as the rest, it wouldn't look like the Santa Fe logo. Then again, the space, and then a 1/2 inch. And then there's the space between Santa and Fe, which is a little bit bigger. And then again, let's see, that was 3/4 or so for the F. Maybe a little bit less. It's not that F is not quite as big as the S. And then if you'll notice this, the E in Santa Fe sits a little bit inside of the F, because an F kind of has a hook across the top, kind of like an upside down hockey stick. So when you measure, put it a little bit inside of the F. Now, so far we don't really have anything to look at, I'm sorry, but now is when we start lettering. And what you kind of will do is put guidelines for everything. This is where all your letters will go. And now we start lettering, actually. Here's the S. And you just kind of look at Santa Fe. There's the S. And an S is a little bit of a tricky letter. It has tails on it. The one thing about lettering, after all that measuring, is that you just practice, practice, practice. And this S, as you'll see, even as I do it, the most important thing, See, the top is like this. The bottom is a little bit fat. And S's, for some reason, you kind of have to turn them on their side. And what you really have to do with a lot of lettering is you have to, about 2 or 3 times, take an eraser, chunk it out, and then an S, a good trick with an S, is to turn it upside down. And if you turn it upside down and it looks the same from the top and the bottom, you've done a pretty good job on an S. So that's the S in Santa Fe. Then the A. It has a little tail on the bottom. Now look, I almost put the tail below the guideline. And if your letters ever dip below the guideline, that's kind of a little bit of another flaw in lettering, is that if your lettering dips below the guideline, then it kind of gives your lettering sort of a look that a human did it versus a paint shop. Because lettering just does not dip below the line when a paint shop uses a ruler to do it. And I'm kind of doing this a little bit fast because it's a demonstration. But what you'll see after I do this is that after I do a couple of these letters, when you do a couple of them in a row, then what you do is you stop and look at the word san, then maybe T, maybe I'll do the whole Santa. Santa, like this. See how that T was a little bit skinnier? There's S-A-N-T. Now here's a very important part, which we were talking about before, is that Santa has 2 A's in it. See that A, again, I almost dipped it below the line. And what you want to do when you have 2 A's is look at both of your A's. And if both A's, see this A is a little bit fatter, this A is a little bit skinnier. So I want to maybe take a little bit out of this A, or maybe thicken this A up a little bit, because that's one of the main places where you can see in lettering is when 2 letters are the exact same, it looks like a person did it if 2 of the exact same thing are different, because machinery will always make 2 A's look exactly the same. Now here's that F, and there's the base of it and the top. And on an F you don't quite have as much problem as I said that you had with the S. F's are one of the kind of more basic letters. And then here's that E that I told you sits inside of the F. See how close that E is. And if we had drawn it way out where it belonged, it would look like there was almost a space compared to the whole word. And there you have it. We've written out Santa Fe.